Are you a wealth architect? That's somebody who wants to grow in all areas of life, not only financially, but mentally, physically, and spiritually. This is exactly what we're doing every single week on this show. I'm Emilio Despirito, your host of the Wealth Architect podcast, each and every week here. Wherever you're tuning in, we're glad you're here. We hope that this episode inspires you, motivates you to do something big, and maybe even blows your mind. Make sure you comment and interact with us. We love to hear from you. Let's get started. A special thank you to our sponsor, Annie Mac Home Mortgage, whose Cash to Keys product is disrupting the industry. Sick and tired of finding the perfect home, not having your offer selected? I got to tell you, it happens all the time. With Cash to Keys, Annie Mac gives sellers a cash guarantee for each of their buyers' offers. Stop bidding and hoping. Instead, bid with Annie Mac and bid with confidence. Don't just bid, but win. Annie Mac Mortgage. I'd like to take a minute and thank Ted Tepuzis, my friend over at Tepuzis and Associates, for sponsoring this program, making this message possible for you to hear. And if you're fortunate enough to live in Florida, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, or Connecticut, you're going to want to leverage the power behind Ted Tepuzis and his team for your real estate transactions. You need a legal team that understands real estate inside and out, and this is what they do, specifically real estate. So go ahead and contact our friends at taclosinglaw.com and let them know where you heard it, right here on the Wealth Architect, Tepuzis and Associates. All right, welcome to the Wealth Architect podcast. I'm Emilio Despirito, and today we're diving into global money movement with Iva Slavtcheva of Moneycorp. Originally from Bulgaria, Iva joined Moneycorp back in 2014 and has been instrumental in the company's expansion throughout the United States. She specializes in helping individuals move money internationally, and whether they're buying or selling property abroad, relocating to other countries, or managing overseas expenses, she is there to help them through it. Today, she manages global partnerships and works closely with real estate professionals like myself and helps them grow their international business to better service clients operating across borders. Iva, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
You're welcome. You know, I saw you at a conference talking on stage about this topic. And, we've had a lot of clients move in and out internationally. And I thought to myself, if I would have just known Iva then, so today we're going to dive in and we're going to learn a lot more about what you do and who you can help, right? And I know that this is really going to speak well to our listeners because so many people are unaware of the services that you provide and how instrumental and important this is to creating, maintaining, and growing wealth. So for our listeners hearing about this for the first time, can you explain what you do and how do you help people?
For sure. And honestly, your reaction is the one I get the most. I wish I knew you a year ago when I moved
Right.
money. So it makes me happy to do what I do. I get to help a lot of people buy and sell real estate all around the globe. We specialize in currency exchange. It's what we do. And we help clients save a lot versus using a traditional bank. The majority of my clients are doing residential type purchases, but it doesn't have to be related to property. It could be any large money movement from one country to another. We help them target a good time to exchange currency and provide a tailored service. It's a niche market. Banks do it, they just don't do it well.
I'm beginning to see that very much so. So you're dealing with mostly property owners, but are you dealing with any business owners as well?
For sure. I work on the private side of Money Corp, but we
hmm
certainly have a large corporate division that manages international business payments. I would say that's the biggest part of Money Corp. When you think of how much money moves around the globe, it's pretty insane, and we help move a lot of that.
So what size transactions are common? I mean, I can't imagine it's $10,000. I would imagine it's six figures, seven figures. What are the common transaction sizes?
It averages, I would say 300,000 is our average, but it can certainly go up. Sky's the limit. It depends on
Mm.
where our clients are investing. Someone buying in Paris is at a different price point than maybe someone buying in Italy. But we help clients move as little as $1,000 a month to
Wow.
millions.
So, if somebody is working with a traditional banking institute, I would assume, and they probably assume the same thing, that the bank handles all of what you do automatically.
For sure. I think that's why banks get away with charging what they charge. They rely on that thought process of the client is going to use us anyway. We have their money and we can transfer it on their behalf and they'll just come to us. Let's just charge them more. It's an additional service.
Mm,
And they get away with it. On the US side, banks have typically two charges. One is an international wire fee, which is a flat fee. It could be $50, $60 per international wire. And oftentimes clients think that that's the cost, but the
mhm.
cost is the margin on the exchange rate. That's the one the bank is not going to be very transparent about. And it could be anywhere from 3% to 6, 7% margin. And that is where they really get you. That's where they're making potentially thousands
Wow.
on that transfer.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that big of a margin, and that adds up. I mean, if you're talking $1 million transfer, even if it's on the low end, 3%, is simple math, that's 30 grand.
When we actually push our clients to go back to their bank, especially some of the non-believers, clients that have used their bank for years and everything worked fine, when they're introduced to Moneycorp, they're a little wary at first. It's okay, it's normal. But
Mhm,
when we push them to make that comparison and have their own aha moment, it's very
mhm.
satisfying. I like to see the shock on their face because now they're educated and now they'll tell their friends and family not to make the same mistake.
That's huge. A lot of savings. And, I can tell you for anybody that's skeptical about doing business with new businesses, that's normal. But as a real estate advisor with Engel and Volkers, a global network, we use Money Corp not only here in the US, but all over the world. And same thing with Realm Global, both two very reputable networks of the top real estate advisors all over the world are using Money Corp. So that says something. So why is it important to consider currency exchange during an international real estate transaction?
Well, I'd say the number one is you don't want your property purchase to be derailed. You want that closing to happen. And the
Mm,
world we live in today, we turn on the news every day and there's something new going on that is affecting
sure.
markets, that is moving the dollar this way or that. And if you're not paying attention to that property that your buyers are looking to invest in could last minute cost them 20,000 extra, 30,000
Mm,
extra. And is it something they can afford now? Is it still a good investment? We don't want that. You don't want to leave the currency last minute. And I've been here for over 12 years, and unfortunately, I still see clients do this. I think they are so overwhelmed with that international investment process, financing,
yeah.
and attorneys and legal aspects, and they kinda go, "Honey, we'll think about the money later." And that really burns a lot of people. So
Mm,
making it last minute is bad. And from the other side, you want to save more. Everybody wants to save more. So if we're proactive, if we're in contact with a client 3 months before closing, now
yeah.
my team has 3 months to monitor the exchange rate movements, let's say between the dollar and the euro. And if there's a favorable point, we can pre purchase the currency. We can hold funds
Wow.
on account, we can actually lock into a rate. And those are things that banks cannot do. They don't offer those types of services. And a lot of clients are not aware that they can even do that. So there's so much opportunity for savings, for peace of mind, and again, for smooth international closing, as long as we connect with the client early on.
All right, so the swings in currency, I mean, are we talking about like just a normal kind of, and I know nothing's normal, but let's just say an average swing you've seen over the past year or so in currency? Is it like a 3%, a 5%? Is it more drastic than that?
When you look at the last year, we had tariffs. So I would say
Mm,
nothing has been quote unquote normal. In
true.
normal days, interest rates and inflation are the two big drivers that affect currency, that affect the US dollar. But looking back at 2025 and still on, tariffs have really been sort of driving that train and figuring out how things are going to go. It's been really unpredictable.
Mm,
But it doesn't have to be a big swing. It doesn't have to be a COVID type event or a war. it could be a very tiny movement in the exchange rate, and that could still have a huge impact on what the clients are ultimately paying on the true cost. I think a big mistake clients make is they're looking at a property in Spain and the property costs 500,000 euros and they Google, how much is 500,000 euros in dollars? That's not the true cost. You're not taking into
Mm.
consideration margins, fees, timing, market. So they might be quote unquote shopping, but they might not really know what that true cost will be. You're not prepared. You're not working with a currency specialist. But
Wow.
anything can affect the exchange rate. A speech by the president, unemployment rates, you name it. Things going on in Europe
Mm.
in different countries. It's a live market. We have some of our clients that ring us in the morning for a quote, and then they'll call us in the afternoon for a quote, and they're getting a different quote. The market has shifted already. So it's
Wow.
important to stay aware and be in touch with someone you can call and get help from immediately.
I mean, that money adds up quick. If you're doing transactions, 6 figures, 7 figures, or even more, saving 30K, 60K a pop, 100K a pop, that could be huge over time. I mean, it's huge right there, but over time, it could turn into millions of dollars, and I'm sure you see it. Let's put this into like a really like easy example. Let's just say if somebody is buying a $2 million property overseas, okay, how much can currency fluctuations actually impact them?
A lot. I mean, it depends which currency, right? Which countries are involved, which currencies are involved. But
Sure.
I would
Loaded
say,
question.
yeah, I mean, a lot of things it could vary, but just to give you a ballpark example on savings on 2 million, gosh, it could be anywhere in the 20,000 range, and I'm being safe, and saying that. It really
Wow.
varies, and even clients that, perhaps have wealth managers or financial advisors, looking after their funds, those clients oftentimes look at me and look at their real estate advisor and say, "I don't pay anything for, currency." And I always laugh at that because I go, "Then I wouldn't exist, right? My company wouldn't exist.
Right.
Everyone
Mhm.
pays something. If there's currency being involved, you're paying something." And when we go and look at the actual numbers and I have a discussion with our financial advisor, we find out typically that high net worth individual is paying maybe 1 cent less than the regular Joe on the street, and they're not saving as much as they could. So there's always potential to compare, to shop around, to learn, to hedge. I encourage definitely everyone to look into it. You might be leaving money on the table.
See, everything is an education opportunity, right? And I mean, I've been selling luxury real estate for 14 years, okay? And even selling luxury real estate, it's not often in Rhode Island that I come across a service like yours. We don't have a ton of international buyers coming in and out, but over the past few years we have. So, when I learned about Money Corp, I realized, wow, this is an area that we can not only educate our clients on, but we can educate other real estate agents, other real estate advisors on, because this is an opportunity here. And people are leaving a lot of money on the table. And it's kind of like, I want to put it to perspective like this for our listeners. It's like a for sale by owner going to market without a realtor. They got the for sale sign in the driveway. They have, maybe they put it on Zillow and a for sale by owner website, but they're leaving the MLS off. They're leaving 1,500 other real estate websites off. They're leaving the exposure off, and they're not reaching all of the buyers. And they're not pricing their home appropriately. The average for sale by owner loses about 13% on their transaction, 13% to save what they think could be 5 or 6 or 4 or whatever, which just doesn't make any sense, right? So they're just losing tons and tons of money. And it's the same exact thing. If you're sending money international, you're going to want to go ahead and connect with somebody like Eva at Moneycorp. Eva, let's talk about what's the difference between using a traditional bank, and we got into this a little bit, but let's dive a little deeper. What's the difference between using a traditional bank versus working with a currency specialist like you at Moneycorp?
I would say a traditional bank could care less what exchange rate you're getting, what timing you're getting. You're just another transaction out of many for them. So they'll just
Hmm.
file it through. We are going to be hands on. I like to call it the white glove service. So we're not
Mm,
only going to exchange your currency and get it from point A to point B, we're not only going to help you save money. we really want to be involved in the whole process and the planning and oh, what's your budget? Oh, have you visited? Oh, have you considered such and such on moving funds from your US bank, like daily limits? Oh, did you know that when you transfer funds to this country, you're going to need this document? We're very, very hands on with the whole transaction. I constantly am in contact with title companies on the US side, tears on in other countries. We really like to be part of every step of the process. We like to verbally verify details with clients for security, and then each client will get a dedicated currency specialist assigned to them, whether they're moving $10,000 or $10 million. They'll have a dedicated currency specialist that they can speak with. Anytime they're wondering what the exchange rate is doing, they need a market update, they can pick up the phone
Mm,
and speak with that person. I know everything nowadays is apps and phones, and that's great, but we really value that our clients call and we can speak with you. We want to hear your
yeah.
questions. We want to help you. When people are moving a large amount of money, maybe even making an international investment for the first time, they're nervous. They want some
Yeah.
hand-holding and guidance, and that's what we're here to provide. So we're really going to make sure from A to Z that that money is moved efficiently, help you avoid fees, help you not make mistakes along the way, keep it absolutely safe and secure, and that's what we do. And a lot of our
It
their friends that they've become, unfortunately or fortunately, my partners because a transaction has gone terribly wrong in the past and they had to learn the hard way. And that's how they found Moneycorp and never went back. So it's unfortunate that it happened that way for many clients.
and there's costly delays in when you're waiting for money. I just recently had a transaction, a buyer from Israel to purchase one of my listings, okay? It finally went through, but there was delay after delay after delay after delay. Now, in residential real estate, people do not always pay extension fees, but in commercial real estate, if they need to extend, there's a lot of fees that could be assessed, right? And I want to talk with you about that. Like, what can you do at Money Corp to really stop the delays or set their expectations ahead of time and how long this thing should take so that they could appropriately fill out their offer and paperwork to avoid those costly delays?
It's all about being proactive. If we're in contact with the client early on and we understand the closing date, deposit date, how the transaction is supposed to flow, then in a way we are going to be a step ahead. We're going to be reminding the
Hmm.
client, hey, you should pre-purchase your US dollars. Hey, we should do XYZ early on. We're going to need proof of source of funds because your funds are coming from a high risk jurisdiction. We're going to be a step ahead of the game to help avoid those mistakes. Also, when MoneyCorp is essentially helping a buyer to bring money to closing in the US, when we're transferring the US dollars, it's originating from a US account. So we've already done the conversion overseas. We have the US dollars. So when the closing agent on the US side is receiving this payment, it's already coming from the US. So that helps avoid additional delays. And I'm on the phone with title to make sure they've received it. So again, being proactive, being in touch with the client early on can help avoid those things. But in general, any payment coming from a high risk jurisdiction, the US has the prerogative to sort of review it, pause it, make sure it's okay. That can happen. But if we start early, we can help avoid some of those.
That's huge. And if you're just tuning in now, this is the Wealth Architect podcast. We are talking with Iva Slavtcheva of Money Corp, and she is a specialist in helping people move money across borders, okay? Taking the uncertainty and costs, extreme costs of moving money out of the equation and really offering that kind of guidance. So, we're talking right now with anybody who could be purchasing real estate across borders right now, or businesses, or moving money at all. Some really great content. And if you missed any of it, you're going to want to go back to YouTube. You could catch us on YouTube, the Wealth Architect Podcast, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. You can catch us on all of those platforms and you can hear the whole interview there. Let me ask you, Eva, what's the most expensive currency mistake that you've seen someone make?
It kind of all comes down to being unprepared, and leaving things last minute, which I know I keep harping on about, but that's usually when the costs come in. It's waiting
Yeah.
too long, the market moves against you, and you have to either just suck it up and go ahead or you pull out of the transaction. Our team does their best to, no one has a crystal ball, but our team does their best to look at upcoming economic events, political events, data, anything that might be impacting the exchange rate so they can best guide the client through the transaction and help maximize savings. But if the client is not in touch with us or waits till the end, that could be very, very costly. So I would say again, leaving it till the day of closing is not a good idea. Even if you're not certain of how much money you want to move, we can
Yeah.
help, you know, protect half of it, maybe budget for half of the amount. One of the services we offer is actually locking into a rate of exchange for up to 2 years.
Wow.
Most people aren't aware that they can do, but especially clients that are looking at new developments where those payments could be, quite spread out. That's a fantastic way to, have a peace of mind and sort of lose the unpredictability of it. You know exactly how much those payments will be. You know you can afford it, and it doesn't matter what happens in the world and in the news. So that's a great way to protect yourself.
Phew. Wow, that's huge. There's a lot to unpack with this. I didn't realize it was so complex, right? And when we're talking different currencies all around the world, there's different things that are affecting those countries and their relation to the United States dollar. And you know what? I would never want to go into moving money anywhere without somebody telling me, hey, this is when you want to lock. It's kind of almost like locking an interest rate on a mortgage, right? Like I'm going to trust my mortgage broker when he says, hey, you know what? I think the market's going to move up. You're going to want to lock now. And to be able to lock in money 2 years, that's pretty amazing.
A lot of people are not aware that that's a possibility, but what you touched on is something that I actually teach when I give classes to real estate agents. I teach all about building your international dream team, and I like to stay in my lane. I do
Mhm.
currency. I'm not going to advise clients on tax, on immigration, on real estate, but as a realtor and as a client, you really need to have that team of professionals around you so that you know
Agreed.
who to contact every step of the way. Your international clients are going to need help that your domestic clients might not need and contacts that your domestic clients might not need. So it's so important to really have those contacts at the ready.
Eva, we may have some listeners right now. They're like, "Well, how do I get a hold of this lady?" So, can you share like what's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you?
For sure, I would say because I travel a lot, I'm in different
Mm,
time zones a lot. Email is great, and I can share all of my contact details with you guys at the end. But email is best if you have a client that you think would benefit from working with Moneycorp. A quick email introduction, and then we can always jump on a call or Zoom and discuss your individual needs in more detail. But it's totally free to work with Moneycorp. There's no catch there. If
wow.
anyone wants to set up an account, it's absolutely free. It could be done online in 5-10 minutes. We just run an address and identity verification from a compliance point of view, but you don't have to maintain a balance. You can immediately speak with our team and get information. Just be better prepared for those international payments. And from a realtor point of view, we really like to partner with you to help you grow your global network. I offer education classes. I do brokerage presentations. I love teaching on this because I get this
Wow.
reply. People go, I never knew you existed. I never knew this
Mhm.
service was available. So it makes me happy to bring new information.
That's huge. And what is your email address?
Iva.Slavtcheva at moneycorp.com. I'll share it. It's
Yeah.
a way to share it at the end. We can type it up
Either way, somebody can Google you, and I know your profile pops up with Money Corp as well.
for
So,
sure.
that's the most important thing because I know there's always listeners that say, they could be in their car, they could be listening while they're, tinkering. Like, oh, you know what? I wish I would have caught that. So that's good. So a lot of our listeners are real estate investors. Okay, let's talk about what mistakes do property buyers make when sending money internationally.
I mean, one of the simple things is people think that they can move as much money as they want whenever they want. There's a lot of
Mm,
rules and regulations around this. US banks are really strict. There's a lot of anti-money laundering in place. If you have let's say an American client who's looking to invest abroad, a common thing I see is they go to the country, they go to Europe, and while they're there, they want to pull the trigger, they want to buy a house. Once they
mhm.
log into their online banking to move funds for a deposit, they quickly realize, "Oh, I can only move X amount per day." or oh, my bank locked me out of the account because I'm logging in from overseas. And those sound silly, but it happens all the
Yeah.
time. You can't just plug in a bunch of zeros and press send. There's usually a little bit more documentation, or you need to be there in person. It's not so easy. Money doesn't just
Oh,
cross borders that fast.
we've seen that even in the US, even domestically, people have to be in person when they're requesting large wires. And that's tough.
Yes.
I had one client that had to fly from Rhode Island to Pittsburgh to get to his bank so that they could wire on the day of closing. Like he
Yep.
literally found this all out last minute, and I'm like, "Oh man." And these are all things over the years that I've learned, and now we can guide our clients, right? And that's experience. And that's experience. And by the way, I love the fact that you have brokerage presentations because I'm going to bring you into my brokerage and I want you to speak with our advisors and anybody else that's listening to this. If you're in the real estate space and you want Eva to reach out, Eva with Moneycorp, she could go ahead and do that. How soon, right, should someone involve a currency expert when working in this process and moving money?
If you're working with an international investor, I would say ideally 3 months before closing, or when they're
Okay.
seriously viewings, when they're getting close to that deposit moment, that's a good time. When you're working with a
Mm,
foreign national seller, pretty much the day of going under contract, the day they offer it, the day you're ready to schedule a closing date, that's a good time for us to get involved. With foreign national sellers, the amount of things that could go wrong are even more than the amount with an international buyer. It's much easier to buy a property in the US, not so hard to sell it as a foreign national. It can be,
mm,
you have the right people working with you, but I see tons of things go wrong on that end as well. A lot of foreign nationals will sell their US property, have title park the money in a US bank, and same thing, they can't get it out. But it's not
mm.
not a local flight then, they're flying from UK back here to walk
It's
into their
rough.
to get their money out, so we can help avoid all of those things with some preparation.
Oh man, we wish we had the Concorde back. Remember those? You could fly those jets like right over and you could catch lunch and come back before dinner from the UK. Unbelievable. What does a typical process working with Money Corp look like? Can you walk us through that?
Sure. Step one, setting up the account. Like I said, a 5-minute process. Some people do it online, some people don't like online. We can work with our team over the phone. Once you're set up, we assign a dedicated currency dealer to you. They have a chat about your timeline, your requirements. When you're ready to go ahead to purchase currency, you essentially agree over the phone on the amount, on the rate, and we book it for you right then and there. Step
Hmm.
two, you fund your MoneyCorp account with your currency. For example, if you have a buyer from Canada, they would fund their local account in Canada with Canadian dollars that MoneyCorp would provide them with. In step three, we get the US dollars to the recipient account. So if they're buying a property in the US, we transfer those US dollars directly to the title company for closing. So it's always secure the rate, fund the account, transfer money out. 3-step process. Each step could be broken down as the client needs, or we can do everything in one sweep. A lot of clients overseas think that they need to have like a bank account in the US to purchase property, which is not entirely true. That's a little bit of a myth. A lot of the time, our clients do not have one, and we immediately send funds to closing. And once they're here and established, they can open up a bank account for future needs. But there's just one of the misconceptions I hear a lot on the phone with clients.
Wow, yeah, there must be a ton of misconceptions. Have you ever heard of upfront underwriting? Well, I haven't until I started working with Movement Mortgage. Movement Mortgage is one of the top loan originators around the country. Specifically, I want to give a thank you to Matt Bates. And if you're lucky enough to live in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, or New Hampshire, I strongly suggest you contact Matt Bates at rimortgageguy.com. Again, rimortgageguy.com. And he's going to help you to find that dream home. He does upfront underwriting, which means they fully approve you for a mortgage before you even place offers, increasing your chances of winning that dream home. rimortgageguy.com. And let's just say if somebody is looking to wire funds for a closing 90 days, 60 days out, what can they do to protect themselves from currency swings?
Yes, so at that point, we would speak with the client to, of course, see what currency do they hold, what currency do they need. If we know we're dealing with a 90-day timeline, it's helpful, especially if we know the exact closing day. The more we know, the better we can help them. And at that point,
Yeah.
the currency specialist will have a look at, is there anything coming up that might be impacting this exchange rate or that exchange rate? Should we wait 10 days to until this announcement because I think the rate might move in your favor? Those are the
Hmm.
types of hands-on things that the currency specialists will do with the clients. They'll do their best to guide them and maximize savings. They might also say, "Hey, you're closing in 90 days. Let's lock in the rate now so that there's no guessing game. Let's lock it in. It's the best rate we've seen in 6 months. Set it and forget it." And then we're just sailing into a smooth closing date. So those are things we can do. We can be proactive in pre-purchasing the currency. And in general, if you're a realtor representing an international investor, isn't it so much sexier to say, "Oh, my client already has USD on account with Moneycorp. They've already converted.
Huge.
Everything's
Huge.
ready to go. We're just waiting on to find the right property or closing." Now your international investor is like here. So there's ways that you can certainly protect yourself and the client and have a smoother closing.
We've had clients, we've had buyers come over from Europe, from Asia, from, all over the world. And one of the things that I work with a lot of sellers, they're concerned about is, of course, the delays. How long is it going to take? So I can imagine coming and saying, hey, you know what? They already have the US dollar. They're good to go. They're working with Moneycorp. At that time, would you or somebody from Moneycorp get on the phone with the sellers and share a little bit more information about how much smoother that transaction could be? I'm just curious if there's extra education there.
We certainly can. I'm never shy to get on the phone and speak with the other party or the other involved parties in closing. The better communication we have, the more teed up for success
Yeah.
we are all around. We can also sort of use it as proof of source of funds. I
Mhm.
can sort of generate a little Money Corp statement to say, here you go, this buyer, this client at this time has X amount of money available. So I think it makes
Perfect.
an uncertain transaction a lot more certain all of a sudden. So absolutely happy to help there. Happy to coordinate with different parties.
What is the biggest and most surprising swing that you've seen in currency of any country over the past several I think you've been doing this since 2014.
Yeah.
Anything come to your mind?
I mean, COVID was a big one. Tariffs were huge too. I would say
Yeah.
COVID and tariffs were the two biggies. When COVID happened, I thought I was going to lose my job. I thought, who's going to move money? And then
Yeah.
after a few weeks of silence, everyone moved money. Panic.
Yep.
Panic makes people move money. And at that point, the dollar and the euro were at parity. We're trading 1 to 1. So
Mhm.
a lot of high net worth individuals pretty much thought, well, wow, those properties in Europe are on sale for us right now. Let's go ahead and buy them. So we saw a huge influx of outbound US dollars. On the flip side, when the US dollar goes down, you're also seeing international investors go, oh, those properties are
That's
also
right.
for us. So part of what I teach is, every currency movement has a winner and a loser. And as long as from a realtor point of view, you find who's winning from a certain currency movement, they're your potential clients. Advertise that property to them. And from a client point of view, staying updated means you're a smarter client, you're a smarter buyer or smarter seller, you're better positioned. So you can only win from education and having the right contacts.
Early 2026, who are the winners right now? If you had to pick the top 2 or 3, who really are the winners right now in the currency race?
It's a really funny time, and I say
Mm.
funny in quotations in a way because it's a time where a lot of countries are unhappy with their own situation. I know we're in the US and a lot of the news that we hear are relating to US politics, US economy, but if we sort of take the horse blinders off, people in Canada are not very happy with Canada. People in UK are
No.
not happy with UK and so on and so forth. So you're seeing this massive movement. We're seeing
Yeah.
a lot of people leave their countries and look elsewhere,
Mhm.
literally looking for where the grass is greener. So at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of people from Europe actually looking at like Latin America. I'm seeing a lot of people from America looking at Europe. I'm seeing the Canadians still buying here in Florida.
Mhm.
It's an absolute Everyone's moving money in every direction. So, from a realtor point of view, it's a fantastic time to be involved in your global network and global referrals. The number one clients I see at the moment are Americans that are looking at golden visa, citizenship through investment, residency through investment products. And they're looking at countries like Greece and Cyprus
Mm,
and Malta, Portugal, countries that offer those visas. People just want to diversify their portfolios. Uh,
yeah.
so that's my number one client at the moment. A lot of USD outbound, but it's a trend. In a few months, it'll probably be people buying back here.
A few months ago, I went with our network, the private office network at Engel and Volkers. Now, for our listeners, this is about 300 real estate advisors across the globe that work with high net worth individuals, ultra high net worth individuals, and help them move money around, buy properties, invest all over the world. It's a fantastic network. And we met in Portugal, and we met there on purpose because there are so many Americans, especially moving to Portugal right now. There's a lot of Americans also moving to Italy. What are the attractors? Like, is it just the fact that money is so, money and the cost of properties there in Italy and Portugal are so much less? Is it a tax thing? Is it a culture thing? Like, what is it that's pulling so many Americans to Portugal and Italy right now?
Portugal, a few years back, was really the leader in the golden visa product. A
Mhm.
few years back, it was relating to property, and it was about 300,000 euros. You buy your property, and you are eligible to get residency. It was like
Wow.
selling hot bread. It was
Yeah.
all we did for that year, and then since then it has changed, and now it's at the 500K mark, and it's related to funds. It's not
Mm.
relating to property, but other countries in Europe quickly caught on the bandwagon of golden visa opportunities, and everyone started offering their own version of it. Countries like Spain overdid it and ended it. So it does tend to make prices go up, and it does tend to hurt the local residents with a lot of American dollars coming in and prices going up. The exchange rate is certainly against the American right now buying in Europe. It's at 117, 118 at the moment versus a few months back. It was, I guess last year it was 103 at the beginning of the year. Now
Wow.
it's 17. So it's really lifestyle, it's cost of living, it's healthcare. That's a big one. That's a very
Oh
attractive
yeah.
for clients. When I go to Portugal, and I'm going there next month for work again, all I hear is American voices everywhere I
Yes.
go. Italy is different. I would say Italy is one of the much lower price points, and people are going there to just escape. I think to just live a healthier, slower life, to just enjoy.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, I can totally see why, but the paperwork process, the filing, the closing is very slow. So whatever
Mm.
expectations you have of timeline, double, triple it.
Let's talk about strategy, like wealth strategy here. Do wealthy investors approach international money transfers differently than the average person?
For sure. I think they are not scared to hedge. They're not scared to position themselves. And I think those are
Hmm.
the type of clients usually that call us when a news sort of alert comes up, something crazy is going on in the world. That's when we hear our phones ring, and it's usually the wealth advisors or the high net worth individuals that are asking us how to better position themselves, how to take advantage of this movement, versus I would say our regular clients just sort of panic and worry. I see the high net worth individuals use it to their advantage and position
Hmm.
themselves for success. And they will work with a financial advisor and Moneycorp to be proactive, to lock in that rate, to move the money into such and such currency. So, absolutely, I think they jump on things faster, and they take advantage of a movement.
Eva, what tools do high net worth individuals use outside of maybe their wealth advisor at Money Corp?
So in a way, they have their wealth advisor, but they also have their dedicated currency specialist at Moneycorp, and they really tend to build a a long-term relationship with that person. It's so
Mhm.
funny. It's even to the point where sometimes a client will call and their dedicated advisor would be out that day or on vacation and they'll go, I don't want to talk to anyone else. I only want to talk to my guy. I'll wait till he comes back from vacation. They really build
Yeah.
that trust and that relationship. And that's what it's all about. You know this in real estate. It's all
Oh,
about
yeah.
relationships. It's not even a sales process. It's just relationships and trust. And that's what our dedicated currency specialists really build with the clients. So they'll really have a chat with what's your business about? What's your lifestyle about? What are you trying to achieve? Where are you trying to buy properties? What do you currently have going on? Have you thought about doing XYZ? So it's really us just thinking how to maximize their currency, how to help you better position yourself from that point of view. So yeah, I think relationships, trust, being proactive.
Good stuff. I keep hearing forward contracts. Can you explain forward contracts in simple terms?
Sure, yeah. Forward contract is in a way lock in now, pay later. So
Hmm.
we can, let's say a client wants to purchase 1 million euros and they have US dollars. They would speak with us today. We would give them a quote, would give them the rate that we can lock into. And if the client does want to book that in, they would say, I want to lock it in for 1 year time, for example. We will go ahead and purchase the total amount of euros for the client at the time of booking. But we would only ask the client to put 10% of their US dollars in their Moneycorp account as a deposit. So the reason clients like this is they are not parking their dollars with us for a year,
Wow.
just sitting there collecting dust. Their money is staying in their savings accounts, investment accounts, earning them money for longer, but they're also locked in and protected from a currency view. Moneycorp really takes on the risk by buying the total amount of currency. When the end of the
Wow.
1 year comes, we await for the client to pay us the remaining 90% of the US dollars, and we can then release their euros. We could send that payment out. That's been a really popular thing to do when someone has a upcoming closing in the next 3 to 6 months. They want to
Mhm.
lock in, they want to be protected. Tariffs last year, I know they went into effect April, I think, March, April time. Well, a lot of clients called us right before, and nobody really knew what the exchange rate which way the rate will go, but we knew it was gonna move. And
Yes.
clients didn't wanna wait and find out, so they locked in. And now those clients are laughing because they locked in when the rate between the dollar and the euro was 103, 104, 105, and
Wow.
today it's 117. So, yeah, they did well. A lot of clients locked in last year.
That is massive. And that literally goes hand in hand with the reference of a for sale by owner not using a real estate advisor, which I was talking about. They lose 13% on average. And right there, pretty similar numbers, from 102, 103 now to I believe you said it's 116 to 118. Unbelievable. Is there outside of anything we discussed, are there any other strategies to timing currency exchanges?
Strategies, I mean, I would say just staying up to date, paying attention. There's something that I offer, which is a daily exchange rate email. It could be used by clients, it could be used by realtors, but it's just something that pops up in your inbox every morning. And while you're having your coffee, you could just glance at it. And I think by looking at it each day, whether you mean to or not, you're going to start noticing the movements. You're going to be paying attention to it. We
Yeah.
do also offer a more in depth weekly market update if clients really want to read a little bit more about what's happening in different parts of the world and what's shaping the currency market. Our team also puts together pretty in-depth webinars that are free. Anyone can join and just listen. But if you're a global real estate advisor, you really should be paying attention to it. You don't have to be an expert, but I think you should be aware of where currency trends are moving. So a lot of my realtor partners will ring me and say, "Hey, I'm focusing on working with Canadian clients. Can you give me a
Mm.
little bit of a snippet on what the Canadian dollar is doing?" And I'll have my team put that together for them so that when they go to a listing, now they're so much better prepared. Now they are standing out from the group of realtors because guess what? They're paying attention to their clients' needs.
That's beautiful. So many investors analyze cap rates, property values, and very few actually analyze the currency behind the transaction. And that's so huge. Let's talk about how do you outside of that, so those webinars, like how do you access those webinars? Do you go on moneycorp.com or
So there's so many. There are some that are right through moneycorp.com, and I think you can even subscribe so you're notified when there's another event. That way you can join in and watch. I also participate a lot in, non MoneyCorp hosted webinars. I get invited to be on a bunch of different panels and presentations, topics like how to set up yourself for success when buying in the US, or things out like tax and FERPTA and
Mm,
immigration panels, you name it, anything that sort of touches that international client movement. I if you connect with me on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, I do my best to share a lot about educational events, webinars, conferences. That way anybody can join. A lot of the time they're free. If they're not free, there might be a tiny cost to join, but I think it's totally worth it to stay one step
sure.
ahead and stay educated and connected. And from a realtor point of view, even a client point of view, I think when you join a webinar and you're seeing different people speak on their fields and professions, I always encourage people, hey, after the webinar, if anybody stood out to you, send them a message, send them an email, connect with them, exchange contacts, because you might forget
That's
about it
right.
after. A lot of
That's
people love
what
information but forget about it after.
That's what happened right here. I saw you on a panel and you were talking about moving international money. And actually, that acronym you just said, FRIPTA, came up as
Yeah.
well. And can you tell us what does that mean for our questioners our listeners that are scratching their heads?
Yes, so
FRIPTA.
FERPTA tax withholding comes into play when you have a foreign national who is selling a US property. It's a withholding. It's in a way the IRS's way to make sure they get their fair share, instead
Sure.
of chasing that foreign national back in their home
Good
country.
luck.
So at
Yeah.
closing, they just go ahead and withhold that money immediately, and then after the client files their taxes, does what they need to do, that money is usually released back to them either a few months down the line or next year when they file taxes. But it's really important that you have a very good FERPTA professional. Your regular tax person that does your regular taxes might not be best fit to handle
Hmm.
specifically FERPTA. You need to have someone that specializes in this, because if that goes wrong, it could have a huge impact on potentially the buyer and or the seller involved in that transaction.
What does that tax rate look like? Is it like 15%, 25%? I know it was a pretty hefty.
15% withholding, and
Yeah.
if you complete a tax withholding certificate, it can be lowered to 10, but you really need to be speaking with the right professional on this. Also, we need to take into consideration, or is the title of the property under an LLC? Is it under a trust? Is it under a corporation? That changes potentially everything from a money corp point of view, from a tax point of view. So these are things
Mm.
we need to know early on. I can't tell you how often I see a foreign national take title under an LLC because it makes sense at the time of buying, but at the time of selling, they most of the time don't have a bank account under that LLC because they never needed it. And you get to a moment where the title company is not going to release proceeds unless you have an account under that exact name. So nobody told them, they never knew it would be a problem. And now you have a closing delay.
You could give a seminar on each and every single one of these topics. I mean, it goes deep and it is extensive. And, for any of our listeners that are interested in learning more, we strongly suggest for you to reach out to Eva at Moneycorp. We'll give you her contact info in a few minutes. So we're just about at the tail end of the program here, but I got a couple other questions for you because I know we have a lot of real estate advisors all across the world that are listening to this. What opportunities exist for agents who want to grow their international business right now?
I would so strongly suggest for every agent to really tap into their global networks. And if they don't have those global networks, to start working on building them, especially
Yep.
like I mentioned earlier, clients are moving from all around the world. You want to be positioned for success and build referrals. You could start locally. You might have a global real estate council that you can join in your city, in your state. If you go on nar.com, you can look up all the different real estate associations, but specifically the global real estate councils should provide really good education, really good information. Maybe you want to consider getting your CIPS designation, which is
Oh,
Certified
yeah.
International Property Specialist. You immediately join a network where you could get more referrals just by having that CIPS designation. There are overseas trade missions and conferences. Our neighbors in Canada, they host a fantastic event, Realtor Quest, every year in May. It's packed with Canadian realtors, but also a lot of US realtors go. So if you attend, you're not only networking with brand new Canadian realtors, you're networking with people from all of different states of the US you might not have met. Really, really great conference. I'm headed to one in Spain in June. It's called Inmocionate. A lot
Hmm.
of people from US go, a lot of people from Europe go. It's again all about global networking. That's the name of the game, building relationships. Even if you don't want to just make a trip for a conference, if you're going on vacation to, I don't know, Paris or Portugal, pop into some real estate offices. If you're a realtor in the US, they will roll out the red carpet for you. They want to meet you. They want to network with you because they fully know that their number one clients are coming from the US. So shake some hands, have some wine together. They
Mm.
really will welcome you and they'll want to hear and learn about your business, your market, in your area. So any chance you get, build relationships. And if you can't travel, which I understand not everyone can do, join webinars. I know if you open your phone right now and you Google webinar about buying overseas or something along those
Mm.
lines, tons of stuff will pop up. Or, like I said, follow me on social media and you could just see all the million things I post all the time, different ways you can get involved and collaborate, but really just expand your horizons because there's so much opportunity for global connection.
Wonderful stuff. And, lastly, what does a great partnership between a real estate advisor and a currency specialist like you look like?
I want every, global realtor to know they can reach out to me, call, text, email. Any questions that you have, you're worried about an international transaction, we can chat about it. I want to help you get better prepared to win those clients and to make sure we get to a smooth closing. If you do have a client to introduce, like I said, short and sweet email is best. I register them in my system under your name and I keep you updated on what your clients are doing. I think it's so important to keep communication open.
Yeah.
Separate from that, always education, connection. I get a lot of realtors reach out to me and just ask for introductions. They'll say, "Hey, I'm a realtor from Spain, and my client wants to buy in Florida. I don't know anyone there." Well, great news,
Hmm.
everyone in Florida. So we'll help you make some connections. So a lot of what I do is just strategic introductions. So don't hesitate to reach out if you're looking for an attorney that speaks German or a FERPTA advisor. I know I have a great set of contacts globally, and I'm more than happy to share those.
That's awesome. We appreciate you so much for being a resource here on the Wealth Architect podcast. There's so many more questions I wish I could have asked you about our entrepreneurs that are tuning in and our business owners, but I'm sure they have questions and they can reach out to you direct. So, Eva, can you please share your contact information, the best way how they can
Yeah.
reach you?
Well, I'll give my personal phone number, which is always ringing. So that's 407-399-0504. Feel free to text, call there. And my email is my first and last name. So eva.slavcheva@moneycorp.com. But if you Google Eva Moneycorp, you will find me.
Awesome. Great stuff. Eva, thank you so much for joining us on the Wealth Architect podcast. For our listeners, we hope that you learned quite a bit about currency and exchange rates and everything that goes in between, making sure to protect your bottom dollar and saving you as much money as possible when exchanging across borders. Good stuff. Eva, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
You're welcome. For our listeners that want to learn more about Moneycorp and about what Eva can do to help you save money if you're moving money internationally, this is important. I want you to go to wealtharchitectradio.com, click on the vault icon. It's at the top right of the website. You can get it from mobile, you can get it on your PC, on your Apple. Wealtharchitectradio.com. Go ahead, click the vault icon and then you can go ahead and you could download a client benefits sheet. And this is from Moneycorp. It's a PDF that's going to lay out all of the different ways that you can secure your currency, different ways, and it's going to highlight different points of how they can help you save money when moving currency around. And Eva's contact information is going to be on there as well too. Again, wealtharchitectradio.com. Hit the vault. It's going to ask you for your name and email, and we'll go ahead and get that over to you. You can download that. So good stuff. Great show today. We've got an amazing guest coming up, Hal Elrod of the Miracle Morning, best-selling book author, 2 million plus copies sold in 37 different languages. That's going to be coming up over the next couple of weeks here on the Wealth Architect Radio. So stay tuned. A lot of great content. We love if you would subscribe as well to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course here on iHeartRadio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks again to our guest Eva at Moneycorp. God bless you. We'll see you next week here on the Wealth Architect Radio.